Everybody, welcome. Today we have Max Hernandez, and he works with me here at SLS. He's an awesome agent. Max started in the industry, put in a ton of effort, and he's doing pretty well for himself now. So today we're going to learn from him how you can be successful in the business and what you can learn from him to apply to your future in the industry. And we hope that you get a ton of value from this. And if you do find value in this, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and you can always email Max. I'll drop his email in the description of the video. So, Max, why'd you get new insurance, and kind of how'd you get new insurance? Why'd you pick this?
Hey Justin. Yeah, so I just recently graduated with a degree in finance, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with it yet, and I figured it wouldn't really hurt to work on my communication skills. That's always been kind of like a weakness of mine, so I wanted to get a job in sales, and I figured insurance was somewhat related to finance as far as the numbers and stuff like that. So I wanted to get a job in sales, and you were one of the first people I found. And when you reached out to me, I was like, okay, this sounds like a pretty good deal, and that's pretty much how it went. I was like, let's rock and roll, let's do this thing, and here we are today. So it's been pretty good so far.
Awesome, cool. Now, Max, I'm just getting my dog. She's just gonna scratch until she loses her claws at the door. So, Max, came in and he had typical start for a final expense agent, right? You come in and you put in a ton of effort and you may not see the result right away. What was it like for you pushing through that? Because I've literally never heard you complain once about anything. Like you never complained about leads, you never complained about
Right,
how
right.
much effort to put in. Most people, it's like, oh my gosh, these leads. And I hear it from, I have people who say they're the best agents in the world who have experience who then complain. So, what was the mindset that you came in with? What helped you kind of stick through the first little bit when it's challenging?
Yeah, so I mean, I know that with any skill, whether it's a sport or a skill for your career, it's gonna take time, and so nobody starts off as an expert. You always have to start off with the mindset that you're gonna fail and you're not gonna be good in the beginning. So all the rejection I faced in the beginning was just part of the process. I was like, okay, I'm just getting one step closer to where I'm gonna be in the future, and that's exactly what happened. In the beginning, it was 200, $250 per day, all rejections, and it was rejections because either they weren't um, people who were actually interested, or it was because I wasn't competent enough yet to even close these people, right? So it could be either or. But in the beginning, as a new agent, you don't really have the skill set to even be able to push through these objections and get to a close. So again, it's just part of the process. You have to put in those repetitions in order to develop the skills to actually become a competent salesman, in the future. So
Cool, man. No,
yeah,
that's so true. It's like
yeah,
you have to be willing to not be good for a little while,
right, right,
and we live in an instantaneous gratification world, which is honestly it's super impressive because you're 21 and most people that I meet that are in their younger in their 20s, man, it's like they want the instant return and
right.
immediate gratification, immediate return. So like what influences in your life helped you understand? Because that's very precocious. What I mean by precocious, it's like you're ahead of your time. Usually it takes people until their 30s to realize like, wow, like I'm not going to be that great at this for at something for a little while until I get really good at it. And that's just business. So what influences in your life helped you to adopt that mindset?
Um, yeah, I mean, again, like you said, we live in a day and age where everything is instantaneous. A lot of
Yep.
us have some sort of phone addiction, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and it's that you start the activity and you get the reward like you know instantaneously, right? In that 8 second video or in that 30 second video. So anything over that, if people get bored and they just move on to something else. That's why people in my age, like, they can't sit down and read a book for 10 minutes because, they get bored and they want to do something else. And anyone who's ever been successful has implemented, the concept of delayed gratification. That, like, there's no like successful people in the world who don't use delayed gratification, right? So if you're going to be successful at something, if you want to be good at something, you have to use that because you're not going to be good in the beginning. You're never going to be good in the beginning. You have to put in the repetitions in order to build the skills that are going to make you, um, you know, be able to build your craft and be competent in the future. Um, but again, like I knew that coming in, I knew that I wasn't going to be good in the beginning. And I'm actually surprised at how far I've come in only what it's been like barely 3 months. So yeah, I've been here for about 90 days. I started on the phones about a week after I started, so maybe just a little under 90 days on the phones. And I'm actually surprised at how far I've come. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. And that's why I recommend for anybody starting, it's like, hey, you got to work like 50 to 60 hours a week as a new agent for 90 days and just grind it out. Like, it's a small investment for someone to get into to kind of change their life and change their situation. Sometimes it's challenging because people have these things that they need to handle in the immediate future. But if you can stick through that, then man, then this industry is pretty bright for you. So what was the biggest challenge that you faced when you started out? Like the first big hurdle to overcome, and how'd you do it?
Yeah, so the first big challenge was probably the greeting, because again, you pick up the phone, you say, "Hey, how are you? This is Max," and people are instantly going to give you objections, even if they are interested. They're always going to throw up an objection because they're just trying to get you off the phone, right? They don't know you, they don't know who you are, they think, you're trying to, do something bad to them, so they're always just trying to get you off the phone. And that was my biggest problem because I was always, compliant and I was always, just trying to be nice. I was like, oh, okay, I'll call you later, or okay, no worries. You already have insurance. Oh, okay, no worries. Sorry about that, and then like leave them alone. Um, but just training the rebuttals and becoming automatic with them, I was surprised once I got really good at that, at how many people actually stayed on the phone once I became automatic with the rebuttals. Because somebody gives you a rebuttal and they think, oh well, this guy, I'm gonna tell him no, and he's not gonna know what to say now. And then as soon as you handle that objection and you just keep going with what you got to tell them, they're like, oh, okay. I mean, this guy's pretty confident. He kind of knows what he's talking about, or he talks to people like me all the time. So they're more willing to stay on the phone and actually listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I hear a lot of people. Actually, I just listened to some call recordings this morning where some people struggle with that, and it's easy for experienced agents to kind of revert back to that bad habit of someone saying, "I have insurance," and right away you're like, "Well, what do you have?" And how much is it? And what? So if someone, let's run through some of those here. So if someone said, if you called me and I said,
Right.
yeah, I'm not interested, what would you say?
I said, yeah, no worries. My job is just to get you this information in the shortest amount of time possible, and then you can make a decision whenever you're ready. And then I go straight into what our products are.
Okay, cool. So no hesitation between when you give the rebuttal and go right back to the script, right?
Right, right, exactly.
What happens when you do hesitate or
Yeah,
like kind of pause?
yeah. So that's when the call ends right there. They sense that hesitation. They lose trust in you. You're no longer the expert. You're no longer the confident salesman. So they're automatically just gonna hang up on you, whatever you say after that. So you can't be hesitant because it shows weakness and it shows lack of confidence. So you have to be automatic with it. You have to be the expert. You have to be in charge of the conversation. Um, so yeah, once you hesitate, you start to quickly lose all your credibility.
I agree. And
Yeah.
if you guys want to learn the same rebuttals that Max is using, just look to the link in the description of the video. Go to rebuttalspage.com and you can sign up there to use the same rebuttals that Max is using in his greeting to completely crush it. And I mean, what'd you have yesterday? Like over 8 hours of talk time?
Yeah, yeah,
Insane.
yeah. I was here from started dialing around 9:30. Then I had my lunch break obviously, but I even answered some or asked some health questions while I was in the bathroom. No, I'm kidding. But no, but yeah, I mean, just your simple breaks and just be on the phone all the time. Make sure you're focused. Try not to have any distractions. If I'm not on the phone with somebody, I make sure the phone's ringing, right? So if the phone isn't ringing or you're not on the phone with someone, then it means you're distracted with something else. So
I like
that's I
that.
think how people lose time during the day, and being in an office environment here, it's nice to have you and the other coaches here around, because it kind of influenced me to kind of up my performance and be at the top of my game at all times. So
Cool.
yeah,
Awesome. I mean, that's huge. I think that a lot of people struggle with the whole distraction thing, especially like doing it from home, even in the office. I mean, I've had a lot of people come in and out of this office, and just the distractions and stuff. So, what do you do? I mean, how do you stay focused like that? And is there anything that you think in your life that contributes to it? Because guys, I see Max come to the office. Literally, he'll be here. He drives 40 minutes to get here, which people driving 40 minutes to work nowadays is like asking to like give them, a hand. It's like you're asking to cut chop someone's hand off. So,
yeah,
my dad commuted 40 minutes for 40 years each way. So it's like things kind of changed. So like, how do you keep that focus, man? Because I see it every time I look at you. You're either dialing or talking to someone, and that's very, very rare. So how do you do it?
yeah. Like one thing is, like this is something that's really important to me. Like just being on the phone and practicing my communication skills. So if it's really important to you, then you're gonna do it. You're not gonna let distractions get in the way. But just to minimize distractions, just make sure your phone's away. Like keep it, just keep it away from you. Like don't be looking at it while you're dialing. I mean, sometimes I look at it, but I don't let it take away from my talk time, right? So, I could be on my phone while the phone is ringing, but as soon as a client picks up, I'm on the phone. I don't, stop dialing the phone to check my phone, right? I actually deactivated my Instagram like in the beginning of the year because I just felt like I was getting too distracted. I mean, it's crazy, you start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you find yourself, just looking at reels for like 2 hours and you haven't like done anything. So so yeah, just being focused and like being here in the office, I think it really helps too because I see you, I see the other coaches, and I feel like I have to kind of match what you guys are doing. I mean, I see you guys working hard here every day. There's no fooling around, like no distractions. We're all working here, so it kind of forces me to kind of try to keep up to your level.
Well, that I think, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And you do the same for me. Like I went home last night and I'm like, I literally stayed up because I'm like, yo, I'm like, I feel lazy with this guy at the office right now, cranking it, and I'm like sitting here reading my book, in bed, and I'm like, dude. So that's why I'm like it was like 10 o'clock last night. I'm like, dude, I'm like, I can't go to bed till this guy's done with his calls because like I gotta live up to the standard that he set right now. So
Right.
I feel the same. It's something that really stuck out to me there, and I'm going to apply. Is that like if it's important to you, then you won't let distractions get in the way. So like if you guys are out there and you find like look at the screen time on your phone, right? And see how much time you spent on Instagram. See how much time you spent on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I mean, obviously YouTube it's a little more educational, so it's like shorts aren't really educational, but if you're watching stuff on content to learn, that's a different story than just watching like mindless shorts and reels of someone like pranking someone in the hood or something, right?
Right.
So, like, if it's important to you, that's where you're going to put your focus and attention, and that's a big bell ringer for me this morning because it's like, hey, like wherever I'm putting my attention at that moment is what's prioritized in my life at the time. And I need to eliminate distractions. So some of you guys, it's not about what you need to start doing; it's what you need to stop doing, right? I think Max has a good handle on that because he's like eliminated a lot of these distractions that would have potentially prevented him from being successful at this, and replace those activities with successful actions. So take a time inventory of your day. Be like, hey, what am I doing at every moment in this day, and is this helping me accomplish my goals and helping me grow? Because if it's not, you're never the same, right? You're either shrinking or growing, expanding or contracting. You're never just level. If you're the same, you're technically contracting because over time you're going to end up contracting anyway, and you're losing out on what you could have grown on. So that's huge, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, after the greeting, what are some tips that you can give to people once they get into the fact find? By the way, if you want the script that Max uses, just you can email me at jve@thejve.com for the script. But what are some tips after people get through the greeting?
Well, after the greeting, the most important thing is obviously the fact finding, right? So you want to see, what their current situation is, if they do have coverage, how much they have, how much they're paying for it, what company they went with. A lot of these people, they have coverage and they don't even know what they have. I had a lady the other day who, she thought she had a policy that her grandma had paid out a while back. And, she told me like three times in the intro, no, I have coverage, I have coverage, I have coverage. And I just kept pushing through it. And we ended up calling the company together on the phone, and she didn't end up having anything. Um,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. And I was able to help her with a plan. So a lot of these people think they have something and they don't have anything, or they think they have something and it's not what they thought they had. So they may have a plan that's not immediate coverage. There's a waiting period for it. Or they might have a plan that expires on them, and then they're like, "Well, I got this plan for 9.99, and it's super cheap." And it's like, "Okay, well, when does that expire on you?" And then they're like, "Well, it doesn't expire." And then you call the company and you find out it does expire. So a lot of these people, they don't even know what they have. So
Hmm.
even if they do have coverage and you believe them and they sound authentic, then I mean that's fine. But you should always take that extra step to make sure that they know what they have. Um, and especially, when you take the initiative and you have them talk to their company and find out what they have, it kind of um, they now have trust in you because you took that action to find out what they have, and now they see you as the expert. So they see you as a leader, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna trust this guy. Let me go with what he thinks is right because um, he just helped me find out that I don't have what I have. So
Cool.
it was really powerful. I had a lady the other day that it was actually the same day of the lady that thought she had some coverage that her grandma had gotten her. I had a lady who had coverage. It was really cheap, but yeah, there was a waiting period. I think it had expired on her, or it was going to expire on her soon, or the price was going to increase. And she was very upset with the lady on the phone. She was like, "Listen, this isn't what I thought I had," and so she canceled it. And then she went with what I recommended her, and I think that put a lot of trust of her in me because I kind of went out of my way to see what she had, and I took care of the problem for her. So that kind of really puts a lot of trust. It allows your clients to put a lot of trust in you if you do something like that.
So at what point in this is big because I see a lot of, I'm actually going to cover this today in our training because I helped um, Christina with this yesterday, when to do a policy review. So I think sometimes for you can let them know when you do it and how you do it. I think like sometimes really soon can be hard to ask for a policy review sometimes. So um, kind of wait till a little bit of a relationship's established to before you're like, hey, let's call your insurance company because it's kind of, I don't know, some people get kind of sketched out by it. But when do you do it? At one point are you just like, yeah, let's go?
Yeah, so I mean, after the intro, I go over what we have to offer, and then I start asking them, some simple questions about, if something were to happen to them, who would be the one taking care of all their final expenses. I would ask them if they're the decision maker, if somebody else takes care of this for them. Um, and then again, I ask them how much coverage they have and how much they're paying. And then at that point, if I think it's something that's worth looking into, I can build a little bit more rapport. I can ask them some questions of where they're at, if they're married, if they have any kids, any grandkids. I can even give them my information. I'll send them a text, or I can have them pull out a piece of paper and a pen. I'll give them my name, my national producer number. I'll give them my cell number in case they ever need to contact me. I'll even send them a copy of my license if they request it, and yeah, then at that point, once they have a certain level of trust with you, they can go ahead and um, and tell them that you're going to do a policy review with them, just to make sure that they know exactly what they have. Because it's like what you said in the beginning. If it's too soon, then they feel like a little uncomfortable. They're like, "Oh, wait a minute, I don't even know who this is, and this guy's trying to do like a policy review. He's trying to see what I have. This is kind of weird." So they
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable in the beginning. So yeah, it is important to kind of establish a bit of a relationship before you do anything like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because sometimes in the beginning, I would be sketched out. if I'm three
Yeah,
minutes into a call, someone's like, "Yeah, let's call your company and find out your policy," I'd be like, I don't know what's going
right,
on here.
right, exactly.
So, um, any tips for people in their fact finding that have helped you? Anything you want to share that's helped you that maybe can help people have a more effective fact finding?
I think one of the biggest things in the fact finding is making sure that they're the decision maker, and that this isn't something that they typically talk over with their kids or their spouse. So when you ask if they make their own decisions, I like to, I got this from my coach. I'm not sure if it was from you, Justin, or from Zach or Josh, but I know I heard from someone that you want to ask it in a few different ways. So first you ask, okay, is this something you handle on your own, or does someone else handle this stuff for you? And then let's say they say, oh, I handle it on my own. Okay. So then you ask it another way. You ask, okay, so do you handle all your bills and finances? And then, they'll say yes. And then you ask it again, say something like, okay, so, your kids or your spouse, they trust your judgment when it comes to these things. And then, like, to really, hit the nail on the head at the end, you want to say, okay, so if I found you something that you wanted to take advantage of today, is this something that you would need to talk over with somebody else, or you can handle this on your own? And that's pretty much like the certain. If they say yes to that, then it's pretty certain that they're not gonna tell you that they have to talk to their kids or their spouse at the end.
Cool.
Because again, I've gotten a bunch of people that they say, yeah, yeah, I make my own decisions, and then you say, oh, okay, so you handle your own finances and bills, and they're like, oh no, my daughter handles all that for you. It's like, okay, so you don't handle
Yeah.
your own decisions then, right? So
No, exactly.
yeah.
Cool. So decision maker,
Right.
isolating if they are the decision maker. If they're not, you try to get that other person on the phone or set a call back. How do you handle that?
Yeah, so if they're not, I try to see if they're there. If they're not there, then I try to ask, if they have a number I can reach them at. And then if they don't want to give out their number, typically I'll just say, okay, so when can I schedule a call back so that you guys are both available? Just to make sure that, the spouse or the kids know exactly what's going on. Typically, if somebody else is the decision maker, then that means that this person sees that other person, on a frequent basis, whether it's their kids or their spouse. They're going to see them at one point of the day or one point of the week. So you just schedule a call back to when they're both available in person, so that way they can both be on the phone. Because a lot of times, you'll ask for their number, and then they say, "Well, I don't give out their phone number because she told me not to give out their phone number." I was like, "Okay, that's fine. So when can I call you back so that both of you are available and we can have a conversation?"
Cool. And
Yeah.
what if you call someone back a few times and then they just they're not getting that person on the phone? Do you try to get them to do it themselves, or will you just kind of end the follow up?
Um, yeah, I mean, it depends. Sometimes, if you can catch that they don't, that they have like some issues with their memory, like maybe they have dementia or
Hmm.
Alzheimer's, maybe you can just let them go. If they say they're in a nursing home and you've been following up with them a few times and you haven't been able to get that person on the phone, you can probably just let them go. Um, but um, but
Okay.
yeah, at that point you can start using your own judgment, I think. But yeah, definitely, if they tell you that somebody else is the decision maker, try to follow up as much as possible until you can get that person on the phone. Um, and then at some point, if you've called them enough times and they keep telling you, oh, they're not here, they're not here, they're not here, ask them, a question like, hey, like, is this something that's on your to-do list, or is this something that's important to you? Because I don't want to be wasting your time if this isn't really something that's on your mind. And I've said that to some people when some people have said, yeah, man, like this isn't really something I'm interested in. Like I've just been telling you this so I can get you off the phone, and then you can finally end the call there and like not waste either of your times. So that's kind of worked for me sometimes.
All right, cool. Good tip.
Yeah.
What's it? So, um, it's funny though, because sometimes people will say they're the decision maker or they're not the decision maker, and they are. Like it works both ways too, right? Like I had a guy a few months ago. I remember I was helping an agent with the sale, and it was a follow up. So I had like taken a sheet of deals agents didn't close, and I went and did a manager callback, and I was like, hey, just curious, you mentioned it looks like you got a good deal on this. Why didn't you get a policy? He's like, oh, I had to talk to my sister. I'm like, cool, well, let's give her a call. We can do it right here with you on the phone. And he's like, okay. And then we called her, and she's like, why are you asking me? It's your money, right? So like, It's funny, and she told him which one to go with. She actually
Right.
upsold him. He was going to go with 10,000. She went with 20. So sometimes, guys, there's an influencer on the deal that doesn't really make the decisions, but they're involved in the decision making process. So that's important too to kind of isolate that and flush that out, if you can. Now, if someone tells you that they are the decision maker through the whole thing, and then you get to the end, and then they're like, "Oh no, no, I have to talk to someone else." How do you handle that?
Oh yeah, so I asked them, hey, is this person paying for it? So, if they say, hey, I need to talk to my son or I need to talk to my daughter, I ask, yeah, so that's fine. I completely understand. I want you to look it over with them. Are they paying for it though? And then if they say yes, then okay, you need to get them on the phone because obviously they're not the decision maker. If they say no, then you say okay, and they're not going to want to talk to you about passing away anyway. So let's just get this done, and once you get everything in the mail, you can look it over and talk about it with your kids. Because again, the whole goal is just to get them approved, and then once they get everything in the mail, they could always look it over with their family and talk it over with their kids. Um, so yeah, because some people are just the problem is at the end when you go for the close, people are just scared to commit. They're scared of
Hmm.
commitment. So you know you want to put it in a way that they're not committing to anything, right? You want to say, hey, no, you're not committing to anything. We're just trying to find out if we can get you approved. And then, if you decide that this isn't really something that is going to work for you, then you can always call me back and we can figure something else out.
Cool. And guys, that works. And Max doesn't have a high cancellation rate for his policy, so he has a good amount of his policies that he writes stick. Granted, he is in 90 days, but he's written a good amount of business in that 90 days. So, it's not. It's sometimes people just need that first commitment, and then they feel accomplished about it. They feel glad that they did it. So if you could give three tips to either new insurance agents or new telesales agents or existing telesales agents struggling, or really just anybody in general doing this, what would the first thing be?
The first thing I think is consistency and effort. So you have to put in the hours every day, at least Monday through Friday, right? If you can do Saturdays, even um, better. But at the very least, Monday through Friday, at least 50 hours a week. Like the bare minimum. Because yeah, if you don't do that, then you won't build the muscle memory required to learn the script very well, and then you won't be confident in the way that you say things. So when you first start out, you're not going to be very comfortable with the script, and that's fine. That's why you practice. Um, but you know, once you get comfortable with the script, then you can actually change your tone so that you have a good tone. If you don't know the script, you're not going to be able to say it in the correct tone that's going to be effective to keep the client on the phone. So again, just putting in the time to actually be comfortable with the script. Like now, I answer the phone. I don't have to be looking at the script. I sound super confident. I'm
Mm,
not hesitating too much with in between like the questions and the answers. So everything's flowing pretty well. And again, that has come from you know 200 to $250 every day, or at the very minimum, 5 to 6 hours of talk time every day. You get that repetition in, and you're going to get very, very comfortable with the script. So that's number one: is getting comfortable with the script through repetition, through like time on the phone. The other thing is just don't be afraid of rejection on the phone, and
mhm.
don't let it discourage you. I mean, again, a lot of these people, they're just trying to get you off the phone, or they already have coverage and they're not interested. It's fine. You can't let it get to your head. I mean, I've had people curse me out on the phone. It's no big deal. You just laugh it off and you move on and you go to the next call. It's not really a really big problem. Um, like I see like a lot of people, they get discouraged because they feel like they're not good enough, or they feel like they're doing something wrong. You know, you can't expect to see results immediately, right? I mean, again,
Mhm.
I'm surprised at how fast I've seen results. Like it's only been 3 months. I thought it was going to take me a lot longer. It's actually been pretty quick, the learning curve.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, don't be discouraged in the beginning by rejection. It's gonna happen. It happens to everybody. You can't take it personal. Just keep going, move on, and realize that with every call, you're slowly developing that muscle memory to be able to be comfortable with the script and be more confident in the way that you present. Um,
100%.
and then the third piece of advice is, I'd say, stick to the script. right? Because if you stick to the script, you're going to be saying the same thing every time, right? And if you say the same thing every time, you get good at saying the same thing every time. If you switch it up every time you make a call because you think, oh, I should do this better, I should do this better. And I'm not saying you shouldn't train. Obviously, you have to train and you have to adjust and you have to, add things to your arsenal, but try to stick to the same fundamental script every time because that's what's going to get you comfortable and you know implement the same script in your head. It's gonna let you be more confident in what you say. If you start switching things around too much, or you try to wing it, you're gonna get caught at some point. You're gonna hesitate, and as soon as you hesitate, it just kills all the credibility that you build with the client. So um,
Yeah,
you
man.
know, put in the time, put in the effort to learn the script. Don't be afraid of rejection. Don't let it discourage you, and make sure you're sticking to a fundamental script. I think are the three most important things for sure.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, looking here, real quick before we end this here, you have, believe it or not, you started the last week in January,
Right.
and so essentially February, right? February, March, April. Yeah, so about three months. And well, this because this was based on last week's stuff. So you had 9,240 people that you've called, which is pretty wild, right? You've called, so that's
Yeah.
probably around 20 something thousand dials because he's triple or double dialing people, and you have 331 hours of talk time. So 331 hours divided by 24 hours. So he has 13 days. So about 13.8 days. So he has about 2 weeks straight if he didn't sleep for 2 weeks straight and just made phone calls. That's how much time he has into this guy. So imagine over time, right? That's why these repetitions are important. And they say it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. So imagine, if you guys keep pushing and you're able to get consistent on this much time, this is usually what it takes for someone, for anybody in the audience. Imagine how good you or Max can be at double that, triple that, 10 times that in terms of activity. And that's where the mastery comes, and you're well on your way to being an exceptional communicator and salesman, Max. I'm excited to have you here. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, check out the links in the description of the video and ways to contact either myself or Max if you're interested in learning about our system here and working with us. Also, you're not going to want to miss this next video coming up. This agent sold 84,000 AP his second month in the business. It's pretty incredible. See you on the next video.